Welcome, and take a breath before the story begins, because this is not just a story about fame, cameras, or red carpets. It is a story about identity, pressure, silence, and the quiet strength it takes to remain yourself when the world decides it already knows who you are. This is the story of Megan Fox, one of the most recognizable and most misunderstood figures in modern pop culture, told not through headlines or surface images, but through emotion, context, and the human experience behind the icon. As soft piano notes echo over distant city sounds and the faint click of camera shutters, we enter a cinematic space where learning English becomes learning life through the journeys of cultural figures who shaped modern media while challenging the roles they were assigned. Megan Fox is often remembered as an image, a moment, a symbol frozen in time, but this story asks us to slow down, to look deeper, and to listen, because behind the spotlight is a woman who learned early how heavy attention can be and how powerful self-awareness must become to survive it. Long before Hollywood lights reflected in her eyes, before red carpets and magazine covers, there was Tennessee in the 1990s, quiet streets stretching under open skies, suburban homes where ambition felt larger than the place itself, and dance studios filled with early morning light and disciplined repetition. Young Megan grew up in an environment that demanded structure and control, finding her first form of expression not in acting, but in classical dance, where posture, movement, and emotional precision were learned before words ever mattered. Dance taught her discipline, how to exist inside her body with intention, how to perform emotion without explanation, and how to push through discomfort for the sake of growth. Even then, there was a sense that her future would not fit neatly into the space she came from. Acting did not represent glamour or celebrity in her imagination. It represented escape, purpose, and a chance to speak in ways that real life often does not allow. Performance became a language, and ambition became quiet, internal and steady. As adolescence faded and dreams sharpened, the transition into Hollywood was not instant magic, but a long sequence of waiting rooms, auditions, unfamiliar faces, and rejection that never makes it into highlight reels. Casting offices felt cold and temporary, places where you are seen quickly and forgotten just as fast. Megan entered the industry young, still forming her sense of self while being evaluated by a system that rarely waits for emotional maturity. There were early roles, brief appearances, moments of encouragement mixed with long stretches of uncertainty. What she learned quickly was that Hollywood often notices appearance before voice, and labels before listening. Being seen did not mean being understood, and being chosen did not mean being protected. She adapted quietly, observing the rules of an industry that did not explain itself, learning how to move carefully, speak selectively, and survive in a world that expected confidence without offering safety. Then everything changed at once. The energy shifts, the music builds, and the screen fills with fast cuts, flashing lights, red carpets soaked in camera flashes, headlines racing across the screen, interviews playing back-to-back, magazine covers stacking endlessly. Global fame arrived suddenly, violently, and without warning. One role transformed Megan Fox into an international icon overnight, and the world decided who she was before she had time to decide for herself. Attention multiplied, and with it came judgment, expectation, and distortion. Every expression was analyzed, every word dissected, every appearance ranked and debated. What looked like success from the outside felt like living inside a magnifying glass, where identity is flattened into a single narrative and complexity is inconvenient. Megan became famous, but also became a target, projected onto by an industry and an audience that often confused possession with admiration. As the pace slows and the visuals darken, mirrors appear, empty rooms lit by soft shadows, late-night reflections that feel heavier than applause. The conflict between image and identity grows louder in silence. Being labeled reduces the space you are allowed to exist in, and being objectified teaches you that your value can be decided without your participation. Speaking honestly came with consequences, and silence often felt safer than explanation. Megan questioned her place in the industry, her voice in public conversations, and her worth beyond how she was presented. The world rewarded her image while punishing her honesty, and that contradiction created a fracture that many never see but many quietly feel. Industry pressure does not always explode. Sometimes it erodes. The tones mute, the music thins, and distance grows. Fewer roles appear, not because talent disappears, but because compliance is expected. Megan stepped back, deliberately and quietly, choosing distance over constant exposure. To some, it looked like disappearance, but in reality, it was self-preservation. Fame without safety extracts a cost that is rarely acknowledged, and choosing silence over performance can be an act of survival, not surrender. Stepping away was not defeat, it was a boundary drawn in a system that rarely respects them. Gradually, warmth returns to the screen. Light shifts. Writing appears, pages filled with unfiltered thought, poetry that does not ask permission. Selective projects replace constant visibility. Fashion becomes armor rather than decoration. Interviews shift in tone, calmer, clearer, unapologetic. Megan begins to reclaim her narrative, not by shouting louder, but by choosing when and how to speak. Femininity is no longer something to perform for approval, but something defined internally, intelligent, emotional, complex, and self-aware. Control returns not through dominance, but through clarity. As culture evolves, perspectives change. Modern visuals show social media discussions, younger audiences revisiting her story with fresh eyes, conversations that question how women have been treated in media, how narratives were constructed, and how quickly judgment replaced empathy. Megan Fox becomes more than an actress in this reassessment. She becomes a symbol of a generation of women judged too quickly and listened to too late. Her influence stretches beyond film into culture itself, reflecting how society consumes, labels, and discards, and how those cycles can be challenged through awareness. The meaning of Megan Fox is not found in a single role or era, but in the journey of reclaiming authorship over one's own life. Slow-motion shots of city lights at night fill the screen, a lone figure walking forward, not toward approval, but toward authenticity. She represents resistance to simplification in a world that profits from it, proof that stepping back can be a strategic act of strength. She did not vanish, she recalibrated. She did not break, she adapted. As the story reaches its quiet conclusion, the music softens and the visuals settle into calm, cinematic stillness. Words appear on the screen, simple and direct. Your voice matters, even when they try to define you without listening. The final thought lingers, reminding us that Megan Fox's story is not about fame or beauty, but about identity, resilience, and the courage to exist on your own terms in a world that is always watching, always judging, and rarely waiting. Her journey teaches that survival is not always loud, strength is not always visible, and reclaiming yourself is the most powerful role anyone can play.